Specifically on this incredible product called HemoHIM. What is it and why does it work so well for so many conditions? And before I get to that, though, I want to just tell you a little bit about who I am, give you a little bit more background. Some of you know a lot, some of you we've just met. So, my name is Dr. Anna O'Sullivan, and I am a natural healthcare professional, 30 plus years. So in 1987, I graduated as a chiropractor. At the same time, I also became a fellow of the Academy of Clinical Acupuncture. Back then, people didn't even know how to pronounce the word, but I knew it was something that I needed to learn so I can help more people once I graduated. And then in 1992, I also received a Diplomat of Homeopathy from the Hahnemann College of Homeopathy in the UK. And in 2017, I officially retired from clinical practice after 30 years. And so since then, I've been focused more on helping people, which I have been doing for the last previous 30 years. And I continue to help people. Now I'm actually able to help a lot more people via the internet, via online, specifically using products from Atomy because HemoHIM actually was my star product when I was in practice for the last 6 years of my practice. This is something I discovered in 2011 as basically quite by accident. And I'll tell you my story. And it starts with my sister. A lot of you know my sister. She is a star master in anatomy. And in 2011, Esther came up to Canada because her health was severely compromised and she needed to have some surgery. She had infection, she had cysts, etc. And her health was really declined tremendously. And some of you have heard her full story, but needless to say, she was visiting me and she was awaiting surgery, but she could not get that done because there was a cyst, an infection in her face that needed to clear out before she actually could get that surgery. At that time, she was introduced to HemoHIM, and I saw a miraculous change in a very short amount of time in her health status. And so I immediately became very, very curious about this product, which I had never heard of. And I've used hundreds of products through my practice, and I had a huge collection of different herbs, homeopathic remedies, nutraceuticals that I used for my patients. So I decided to use HemoHIM because of my sister and the effect that it's had on her in such a short amount of time. This is us in 2019, actually, at the Korea Atomy tour. But she's the picture of health, and she is now today. But back then, she did not look like this, and I don't really want to show you how she did look like. But basically, HemoHIM, when I started to investigate what it was something that was totally different than I've ever used. And the more I looked into it, the more I was shocked at its whole history of who developed it and the kind of conditions that it helped. So what I did was, once I did my research on HemoHIM, and firstly, I knew it was available in Canada, and it was approved by Health Canada, that it was considered a uh, functional food supplement, and therefore it was totally non-toxic and anybody could take it, with a few minor exceptions. So I started to basically recommend it to certain people, but I wanted to see what people, how they responded. And so I started with specifically patients who were very stubborn to my current form of treatment. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the patients that came to see me. Now, I treated mostly functional patients with functional issues. Even though I graduated as a chiropractor and I did acupuncture, over the years, the last 25 years of my practice, I solely worked on patients with things like diabetes, hypertension, hormone disturbances, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue, anemia, um, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, people with immune deficiencies, uh, just a whole gamut of conditions that the average medical practitioner really couldn't help with. And so they all ended up coming to see me as a last resort. And really, considering I was their last resort, the um, the response rate of people getting better was very, very high. And 80% of them did very, very well, but there were still 20% who had some appreciable gain in their health, but still, I would like to have them become better. But no matter what I did, they were plateaued. And these were the patients that I started on HemoHIM. And I just said to them, listen, I discovered something that works really well for some people, and I want you to give it a try. And I didn't tell them what they were going to feel because I wanted to know what their responses were. And I was in shock because within days, these people were calling me at home, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And first person that called me said, hey, doc, what is that awful tasting stuff you gave me the other day? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, maybe something's wrong. Well, she said to me, I can't believe it. I woke up this morning and I have no pain. I'm thinking, what do you mean you have no pain? This is a person who's had rheumatoid arthritis for over 25 years, and she was on all kinds of anti-inflammatories, um, and to no avail. And when she came to see me, she was on 6 different medications. Slowly but surely, had been able to get her off most of them and replaced them with a lot of herbal remedies. And she needed acupuncture treatments twice a month just to keep her functioning. And she already had a lot of disfigurement already in her hands and her knees, and she had a lot of trouble walking. And she wakes up, she said, no pain, which is incredible. Then a few days later, another person calls me. This is a person with chronic fatigue. She can hardly get out of bed, can hardly function. And she calls me 2 weeks after she's used this product and says, I cannot believe it. I've had the best sleep of my life, and I can actually feel like doing something. That really blew my mind. And another person called me and said, look, my diabetes, my blood sugar is regulated to the point where I had to cut my medication by half. These kind of responses I did not expect, because these were my very resistant patients that were just at a certain level but could not get any better. So, needless to say, this kept happening with many of my patients throughout, and very, very quickly. So, once I start to see these kind of results, it started to make me really look deeper into the research of HemoHIM and why it was such an incredible product. And then I realized that it was a product developed actually by the Korean government, not for the general public, but for their own nuclear scientists who were actually getting sick, specifically with cancers and autoimmune diseases, after working with very, very dangerous radioactive materials over a period of time. And the Korean government's research facility called KERI, Korean Atomic Energy Research Institute, is actually now the second largest governmental research institute in the world, only next to the American Research Institute. So it is huge. They have nuclear capabilities, and Korea is actually a big nuclear power, and more than 40% of all their energy comes from nuclear. So that being said, there's over 3,000 to 4,000 scientists that work in that one particular department alone. And so when the government started to notice a lot of their scientists were getting sick, specifically with cancers and autoimmune diseases. They got very concerned, and that's where an 8-year governmental study was set up by 15 of their top scientists and cost millions and millions of dollars. And by the end, they came up with this particular product. And the biggest challenge was that they needed something that would work with the human body naturally. So they spent the first 5 years basically doing research. They looked at every single natural herbal remedy found in the world. Chinese herbs, Korean herbs, Japanese herbs, Indian herbs, North American herbs that had any kind of cancer fighting properties and immune boosting properties. And then they narrowed it down to 42 herbs. And from there, then they started to test to see which herb worked the best and which was the most powerful. And so then they narrowed it down to 3 herbs that had the most powerful effects on anti-cancers and immune boosting, and they work the best together because some herbs do not work very well together and others potentiate and they become more powerful together. So that was the story of this product. So once they found the 3 herbs that was the most effective for anti-cancer and immune boosting, their biggest challenge was they could not give it in enough quantities to make any appreciable difference to the sick people that they were trying to help. Because typically when you use herbs, these herbs are in either a root or the leaf, etc., and they're desiccated, and you take parts of the herb, but you also take parts of the toxins. Every plant that comes from the ground basically has toxins coming along with it. And this is why you can only take a certain amount of herbs before you start getting side effects, because those toxins start causing issues. And that was the biggest challenge. So the last 3 years, they focused on how to get rid of the toxic elements of these incredible herbs so that they could give huge amounts of the active ingredients without causing side effects. And they did that by using their nuclear technology. They were able to actually purify these herbs and separate the toxic elements from the active ingredients so that they can concentrate and give full amounts. And the effects were just astonishing. And so anyways, why I started taking HemoHIM myself? Because I saw the results with this product with my patients.
Baka talagang mag-listen ka lang dito. Doesn't have to have.
Kasi sila mga
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Mute. Okay. Oops. Okay, so needless to say, for the last 10 years, going on 11 years, I personally have been using these products because it has been the key product in getting my patients healthy, no matter what conditions they were suffering from. And I'm going to go through step by step what kind of conditions that HemoHIM can help with and why. So I'm not going to go into my personal story because I have another video that will actually deal with that. But to save time, the one thing I need to tell you about is my dad's story. Once my sister recovered from a lot of her health issues, she went to visit my dad, who had just suffered a stroke, his 3rd stroke. He was in his mid-70s. He had severe diabetes and severe heart disease, and he was basically bedridden after stroke for almost a year. And when my sister went to visit, she recommended he try HemoHIM, and within a month of taking the HemoHIM, my dad was actually able to get out of bed. And considering he'd been bedridden for a year, that was amazing. And within about 6 weeks, he was able to walk well enough with a cane to go to the subway, to go to church. My dad's a minister, and not to be able to go to church was a huge issue for him, and he was actually able to go to church. And he actually survived 8 more years after this stroke in 2012. So in 2011, he had the stroke, and he was using HemoHIM in 2012. So that's an incredible story. So the ability of this particular product to heal all kinds of health issues is astronomical. There's no other products that can do this, and it's because of the technology that was used to develop this product. So I started telling you a little bit about what HemoHIM is and why and who developed it. So it was developed by the Korean government, not a private corporation. Typically, any kind of herbal supplements are produced by a corporation to sell to the general public. But because it was developed specifically for the nuclear scientists of the Korean government, the whole aim was not to make money. It was to help people get healthy and stay healthy and protect them from more health issues. And so after about a year after they developed this, and their scientists were getting incredible results, including people who had stage 4 liver cancer, 20% of them actually recovered. Now that's incredible. When somebody has stage 4 of any kind of cancer, it's basically too late. Most of them maybe have 3, 4, 6 weeks left, because their body's in such weakened state that they don't recover. But 20% of people with stage 4 liver cancer recovered. That's 20 out of 100 people. If you have 100 people with stage 4 liver cancer, and that's unheard of. So most of those scientists recovered very quickly. And when the government saw the kind of results they were having, they were shocked. And they said to themselves, we can't keep this just to our scientists. We need to get it out to the world. So in 2009, 2008, they marketed, they joint ventured with a private corporation to market it to the world with the sole goal of helping as many people as possible. And luckily, in 2008, the chairman or the founder of Atomy, who happens to be the sole distributor of HemoHIM, and this is his story, is that he was actually gravely ill. In 2008, he had a severe liver condition where if he didn't have a new liver, he only had about 3 months to live. So he was bedridden as well. And a family member bought him a box of HemoHIM and said, listen, I heard this stuff is really amazing. Give it a try. You have nothing to lose. That time, one box of HemoHIM with 30 packages was $700 US. This was 2008, I believe. That's a lot of money for the average person. But in this case, he had nothing to lose, because if he didn't do something, he was going to die. And needless to say, 1 month supply, he was out of bed. From being bedridden, he was able to get out of bed, and within the next 6 to 7 or 8 months, he was able to basically regain his health. But by then, HemoHIM, because of the price structure, the way it was marketed, I believe it wasn't available anymore. And so, being a business person, Mr. Park went to the manufacturer and said, listen, this product saved my life. And he's also a devout Christian. And he said, God saved me for a reason, and that's to help as many people as possible with your product. If you give me 100 years of exclusivity of this product and any other products you develop, I will guarantee you I will get it out to the world. And the Korean government and Komar B&H, who was the manufacturer, said, okay, it's a deal. You get it out to the world, because our goal is to help as many people as possible as well. So that is the beginning of HemoHIM. So the key here is, if you look at the history of the pricing of HemoHIM, when it was being manufactured by the Korean nuclear scientists for their people, it cost $10,000 US a month in 2008. That's hard to imagine. But just think about it. It was prepared, being made by the Korean scientists. Now, how much does a nuclear scientist cost per hour? If you think of it that way, $10,000 is really not a lot. But obviously, the average person could never afford that. And once they made it commercialized and mass produced it, they could, when CO Park was exposed to HemoHIM, at that time, $770 per box for 30 servings. That's what got him better and saved his life. But still, that was just too much for the average person. And him being a businessman and figuring out how to make things more affordable, when he took over distribution, he actually could get the pricing down to 105 Canadian dollars for 30 servings in 2009. And by 2017, he could actually only raise the price by $9 to 114 Canadian dollars for 60 servings, meaning double the amount, but only $9 more. So this is incredible. And currently it is still $114 at 2021 for 60 servings. So that tells you the goal of this company is to help as many people as possible. This is the progression of 30 sachets to 60 and from 105 to 114 in 2017, and now at 2021 it is still the same price. So one thing everyone asks is, who needs to take HemoHIM? Well, actually HemoHIM, because of the purification technology that was developed by the Korean government using nuclear technology, and they use the same technology to produce this now, is that it is one of the purest supplements found in nature. And therefore, even infants can take this product, and 110-year-olds can take this product. There's only very few people that can't. Usually it's people who may be allergic to one of the substances, which is very, very rare. People are allergic to coriander or celery because one of the herbs is in the same family. And certain people who are on certain types of medication, maybe blood thinners, has to be careful, but still doesn't mean they can't. And so anybody can take it, and depending on what they're suffering from, you take less or more, and also how old they are. We've had infants who are colicky, just have, you can put a little bit in their mouth, and within hours, have them calm right down. And we've had 80, 90-year-olds who can hardly climb the stairs, take 2 packages a day, and be able to walk up the stairs within a couple of weeks without being out of breath. So that it does a lot of different kinds of benefits, and I'm going to go over the benefits with you, and then you can see why everyone needs to take HemoHIM. So this is the most important section of this presentation, and I'm going to actually, for those of you, if you can copy the in the chat, I actually put the link to be able to download this particular PDF, because I'm going to actually talk about the specific conditions that HemoHIM can help with, so that you can see what area that you can actually benefit. Plus, you may think of others, whether it's your family members or friends or co-workers that may benefit from this product. So I'm going to go through, there's 3 main herbs that are the backbone or the cornerstone of HemoHIM. And these 3 herbs have been researched so that they work together, and from 42 herbs, they've narrowed it down to these 3 most powerful herbs. And these have been used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years. And these herbs only grow in certain parts of China and certain parts of Korea. And different types of herbs grow in different regions because of the climate, the soil, etc. So these herbs do not grow in North America or in India or in Europe. They only grow in certain parts of Korea and certain parts of China. Now, the first herb you may have heard of because this is the only herb really that have been imported or exported to different parts of the world because it's such an incredibly powerful herb. It's called Angelica, and it's better known as Dongquai. And this has specifically been used for a lot of hormone um, hormone balancing, especially for women. And so Angelica happens to be great for balancing out. It's been used for thousands of years by women to balance out the estrogen levels. Too high or too low, it's a matter of balance. And a lot of hormonal problems are helped with this particular condition. And so it's also what we call a blood tonic, meaning it helps to generate more blood in the cells, and that's why it acts as blood tonic. And it has huge amounts of actually nutrition. The actual herb itself has huge amounts of folic acid, biotin, vitamin B12, and nicotinic acid, which is vitamin B3. And so it's great for actually purifying the blood and naturally thins it to prevent blood clots. And that's the key. It's much better to have thinner blood than to have too thick a blood. I'm just going to mute. Perfect. Okay. And still going on what um, Angelica can do, basically, it also helps to modulate the mood. So anybody who has any mood swings, this is really good for actually increasing the feel-good hormones like endorphins. Now the latest research shows you why it works, but before they just knew that it was great for regulating mood swings. Amazing for detoxifying, as I mentioned before. The nutrition, especially the B vitamins, work really well. And B12 is actually, if you lack B12, that's pernicious anemia. So you tend to also have you have anemia, and therefore you don't have the energy, etc. So this is one of the reasons why HemoHIM is so powerful in giving more energy very quickly, because a lot of people actually are anemic because they tend to be vitamin B deficient. It also helps with circulation of the blood, and the preventing of anemia is huge. I've had a lot of my patients with iron deficiencies, even though they took iron supplements, it didn't really help. So they needed iron infusions, actual injections of iron every 4 to 6 weeks. And within a couple of months or even less, 6 weeks of taking HemoHIM consistently, their iron levels regulated and they weren't anemic anymore and they didn't need the infusions because the actual herbal supplement, the Dongquai, has huge amounts of bioavailable iron that the body can absorb very, very easily. So this helps with unexplained fatigue, muscle weakness, headaches, and brain fog. That's pretty common symptoms of people with anemia. So very, very important. If those are some of your symptoms, HemoHIM will work very, very well for you. Fights depression. Again, improving the mood, lessens anxiety, depression. Very, very good for people who's been under a lot of stress because it helps regulate the stress hormones as well. And has antioxidant capacities, which means it also prevents oxidative stress, which means it's going to actually prevent the aging process because it's going to protect your cells from the free radicals for all the organ systems. Okay, so, and basically, Dongquai improves the heart. This is one of the things that really helped with my father, heart health. And for women, skin, amazing for skin because it helps to reduce the inflammation and antibacterial substances for the skin. People who have alopecia, meaning losing your hair, psoriasis, eczema, all of these skin afflictions work are helped tremendously. Within a couple of weeks, people notice changes in their skin because skin cells actually um, uh, come out in like three weeks. You'll get a new skin cell. So the it's one of the fastest turnover rates in our bodies is the skin. So you notice changes very quickly. It also helps to strengthen bone density. So as you get older, you tend to lose bone density, and you're more likely to get bone fractures, etc. Especially women. And so it helps to keep your bones strong. Lowers blood sugar levels. So people who are diabetic or hypoglycemic, very important. And this is why some of my patients who were diabetic were noticing that they needed less medication. Some of them, a lot of them actually was able to get off their medications permanently because it helped to regulate the blood sugar. And also, if you have fatty liver, it helps to also reverse that condition. And one of the biggest functions of HemoHIM is it helps to reduce inflammation. And this is just the first herb, but all the other herbs also have anti-inflammatory qualities. So they've done research where HemoHIM was compared to pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories, prescription anti-inflammatories, and it acted as just as good as an anti-inflammatory, even better, but with zero side effects. So this is really good news. So some of the side effects, but really not, is one of the things is that it does have blood thinning qualities, which means you're less likely to get blood clots. But if you happen to be on blood thinners, you just have to be careful of the dosage. Your goal is to actually get off the pharmaceutical blood thinners and have naturally thin blood by using HemoHIM. And those who are allergic to cilantro, celery, or dill, which is very uncommon, you may have problems taking this. And the only side effect maybe if you have a lot of cramps during your periods, then just don't take it during that time, but it will actually help regulate and minimize the cramping over a period of time. So there were three herbs that was used. The second herb is called ligusticum, and one of its main properties is actually as an anti-inflammatory. So this is why a lot of my patients with rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, gastritis, any condition that ends in itis means it's an inflammatory condition. A lot of autoimmune diseases also have a lot of inflammation, and so if you bring the swelling down, a lot of the discomfort and pain will also go down as well. So redness and swelling of body parts, skin, or any organ systems can be alleviated. And you can even use it topically. Some people with eczema, etc., it can also reduce the pain as well. It's ligusticum actually is also pain medication. When I had a recent, in August, I had a very severe horse accident, and I broke my collarbone and 7 ribs on the same side. And I started taking HemoHIM as soon as I woke up in the hospital because I didn't even remember what had happened. And I did not have to take any painkillers or anti-inflammatories, which is incredible considering I had 7 rib fractures and a fractured clavicle or the collarbone. And so incredible pain reducing properties. So those of you who have back pain, neck pain, joint pain, HemoHIM will work amazingly well. Also antibacterial properties. So it can stop any kind of infections because one of the ways that HemoHIM works is that it actually helps to stimulate your bone marrow to produce more white blood cells, which are your immune cells, especially the NK cells, which help to fight bacterial infections, viral infections, plus they also search and destroy cancer cells. And this is the main reason why HemoHIM was developed, was the anti-cancer properties. So here you go. Ligusticum happens to be the main herb that is the antibacterial property, anti-fungal property. Anybody who has any chronic fungus in your fingers or your toes, or a digestive fungal infection, this will help tremendously. I've had several people who've had years of nail fungus where they were almost about to lose their nails. Within a month, they could see changes in their nails. That it was helping to fight the fungus, even though they were on a lot of very, very strong antifungal medication. So within a couple of months, that fungus was destroyed. So sedative properties. Those of you who have issues with sleep, it will reduce your anxiety. You'll be able to sleep. Those of you who are have issues with your adrenal glands, you may need to actually not take it just before, because it could cause a second wind. So everyone's different, but if you have trouble sleeping, if you take one before sleep, it will help calm you down and be able to go to sleep. It treats anemia, so this is the second herb, and it's also good for anemia. So actually all three herbs are very, very good for anemia. Clinical studies actually showed with 150 cases of anemia, 111 cases, or over 70% gained positive benefits from taking this particular herb. So when you take it in the HemoHIM form, you're actually taking supercharged herbs of these three ingredients, and that's why they work so well and so fast. Headaches, any kind of headaches, because a lot of headaches are from inflammation of the blood vessels in the brain, and tends to cause, especially when there's changes in the atmospheric pressure. So ligusticum is the main herb that will help with headaches. Female reproductive system, same thing with blood flow. So it will also help regulate the female reproductive system and menstrual issues. So continue on with ligusticum. Infertility, it's been very, very good for people with fertility issues. HemoHIM will help with you becoming pregnant, because it helps to balance out the hormones. You need balanced hormones to get pregnant, and then once you are pregnant, you stop taking it, because you want to make sure the hormones stay in balance, because once you're pregnant, you're going to have all kinds of issues with the hormones being out of balance, which is the way it's supposed to be while you are pregnant. So it will help you get pregnant, and then during the pregnancy, you do not take it. That's the one time where you should not be taking HemoHIM. It will also help with digestive issues, whether you have flatulence or diarrhea or irritable bowel syndrome. It actually will help regulate the digestive tract. So very, very good for that. In digestion, immune system, that's one of the key reasons why HemoHIM was developed. It will help treat fevers. It will help regulate your body temperature, increase your sweat production, and also detoxify your system. And respiratory system, it can treat all kinds of disorders like cough, sinus congestions, pneumonia, very, very quickly, because things like pneumonia is an infection. The other stuff like coughs and sinuses, it's the side effects of the infection. It's the garbage that's created because of your white blood cells fighting the infection. So your body needs to clear that junk out, and HemoHIM is very good for detoxifying and clearing out your system. So it will help drain your sinuses. It will help. Coughing is a way to get rid of stuff. So it will help you cough up all the garbage while you're fighting the infection. So the last herb is called Paeonia lactiflora. You notice the theme that every herb affects the blood, because blood is the staff of life. You need a properly functioning cardiovascular system. You need proper blood, not too thick, not too thin. You need enough red blood cells. And the number one function of HemoHIM is the production of blood cells from your bone marrow. Helps to produce your white blood cells for your immune system. and helps to produce your red blood cells for actually keeping all your trillions of cells alive. Your red blood cells are the transporting mechanism for oxygen and all the nutrients to all the cells in your body. And you have trillions and trillions of cells in your body, from your brain cells to your skin cells, your liver cells, your toenail cells. Every cell needs nutrition for it to be alive. And so if you don't have enough blood cells, it means it's like right now we have a supply chain issue because there's not enough trucks delivering things. Boats are getting tied up in the ports, which means we can't get what we need. And same thing happens with your body. If your blood vessels, if you don't have enough of those red blood cells, then your body's going to basically starve. And when you're under a lot of stress, or as you get older, your ability to make these blood cells, your white blood cells and your red blood cells, goes down drastically. And this is why HemoHIM is so amazing as people get older and as they're stressed, because it is going to keep stimulating the bone marrow to keep up with the blood cells. So back to Peonia, great for digestive issues. Any kind of digestive disorders, whether it's irritable bowel or gastritis, constipation, it will help regulate. Heart health, again, very, very important. And brain function. So as you can see, HemoHIM is good from top to bottom, from brain to heart to detoxification, to skin, to every function of your body, because it works by supplying every cell with the nutrients that it needs, plus special antibacterial, antifungal, anti-cancer properties. So healthy brain, so helps to calm your brain down. Amazing for healing. I mean, in the 10 plus years that I've used it, I've had several injuries with my horse riding, some very severe, some not as severe, and the healing is just astronomical. You will heal probably 3 to 4 times faster when you take HemoHIM during your healing process compared to before, because it helps to reduce inflammation, which means it goes right into the healing phase. And when you get all of the nutrients to your cells faster because you have enough red blood cells to transport them, then again your healing powers speed up, because it goes down as you get older because you don't make enough of these red blood cells. So proper function of your colon, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, every part of your body, your kidneys will benefit from HemoHIM. People who suffer from headaches, nerve pain, it helps to relieve, especially nerve pain. And nerve pain is really, really tough to handle, because technically your nerves cannot be deadened or else your body doesn't function. So your body does not like to deaden the nerves. We don't want to deaden it, but Peonia will help actually reduce some of the discomfort or irritation that nerves may suffer, because nerve pain is one of the most hardest pains to deal with. And Peonia is also great for energy and awareness. It increases your energy, intelligence, awareness. You'll get rid of the brain fog that you may be experiencing. And it is one of the greatest adaptogens for stress. And who's not under stress these days? We are all under stress, especially the last couple of years, everything that's happened. And when you're under a lot of stress, your immune system gets depressed because the stress hormones shuts down every other parts of your body, including production of your immune cells. This is why people who tend to be under a lot of stress, chronic stress, they're a higher tendency to get cancers, because there's not enough white blood cells to keep the cancer cells under control. One of the things you have to remember is that all of us produce between 1,000 to 5,000 cancer cells every day. But how come we don't all get cancer? That's because these white blood cells, the NK cells, are like vacuum cleaners in our bloodstream. They search and destroy not only bacteria and viruses, but cancer cells. Whenever it encounters any weird looking cell, it will destroy it and suck it up. But when you're under a lot of stress, your ability to make these NK cells decreases dramatically. So over a period of time, 6 months, a year, 18 months, your cancer cells increase because it can't get destroyed, and then you'll reach a tipping point where you'll be diagnosed as having a tumor or some type of cancer. So it's critical. This is one of the number one reasons I started taking HemoHIM regularly, is specifically for preventing cancer, because I was the healthiest person I knew, but cancer was something that I could not control. I ate properly, exercised, tried to manage my stress, but there's only so much I can do personally, because cancer is caused by a lot of time toxins, etc., that I can't prevent entering my body. So perineum is amazing for your immune system. Long tradition as a support for the immune system. That is why that particular herb was picked, because it was specific. They were specifically looking for an anti-cancer immune boosting property. So as you can see, each 3 of these herbs have those properties, all kinds of properties. You put the 3 together and you supercharge it. The effect on our body is just astronomical. So I'm not going to go through this here. So one of the things you need to remember is that because HemoHIM was developed by nuclear scientists, it is one of the most researched natural products in the world. Because when they were just making HemoHIM for their scientists, they didn't need to prove how it worked and whether it was safe or not. They already knew it was safe, because all they did was they took organic, naturally grown herbs, and then they extracted using nuclear technology the toxins. So it was still food, and it's still considered food in every country HemoHIM is sold. Even though it has anti-cancer properties, because actually it's patented as anti-cancer property in several countries around the world, it is in Canada, in the US, etc., it is recognized as a functional food. This is why anybody can take it and anybody can recommend it. You don't need to be a doctor to recommend HemoHIM, and this is why it's not in a child safety cap. Kids could take it. Now, if you took the whole box of HemoHIM, you may get quite sick, you may throw up, and you may have diarrhea, but it's not deadly, it's not going to kill you, all right? And it's unlikely somebody's going to take the whole box, because it doesn't really taste that great. But as you can see, it's a non-toxic, it's considered food. And it is the most researched natural product in the world, because if you actually go into the National Institute of Health, that's the American government website that houses all research, reputable research in different health categories, HemoHIM, and you search HemoHIM, you get hundreds of different articles on HemoHIM with all kinds of immune modulation and anti-diabetic effects. Here you go, about HemoHIM. Therapy, ionizing water extract mixture of these 3 herbs. Anti-tumor. As you can see, all of these are separate research studies done by scientists in the correct scientific method, and it's all documented here. So I just put 3 pages here, all on HemoHIM. And so this is a big one, HemoHIM and cancer. How does it fight cancer? This is a big, big topic because cancer is now so prevalent. Even 10 years ago, you hardly heard of anybody getting cancer. But now, I know every single one of you knows somebody who's had cancer, like by name or family, or you yourself may have fought it. It has now become a common occurrence, and which means things are going to get worse. So the one thing we all need to do is, how do we protect ourselves from getting cancer? And the way HemoHIM fights cancer is indirectly. The only way you can fight cancer really is for your body to prevent it or get rid of cancer cells. And this is how it works. Our body has everything it needs to keep it healthy. Cancer happens to be when a particular cell is damaged somehow, whether it's with toxins or whether chemicals, etc. And that's why we produce cancer cells every day. But we automatically have a cancer-fighting substance called the NK cell, the natural killer cell of our white blood system. And we have about 5 million of these white blood cells in 1 teaspoon of our blood. But when you're under a lot of stress, or if you're in a very toxic environment, chemical environment, etc., or you eat a lot of toxic foods that causes a lot of damage to your cells, your cancer cell rate goes up, and your ability to mop up those cells by these NK cells goes down drastically, especially if you've been under a lot of stress or as you get older, or if you've been sick. And so this is why products like HemoHIM is so invaluable in making sure that we can minimize the cancer load by making sure your vacuum cleaners that clean up the cancer and the viruses and bacteria are all functioning properly and that you have enough of them. Okay, so it's a very simple process, is making sure you have enough of those cells that will clean your blood of the cancer cells. And rather than, because you can't control how many cancer cells you produce, but you can help and control the vacuum cleaners that will get rid of the cancer cells. And same thing with infections. We are healthy because we have a healthy immune system. It's not the fact that we're not healthy because we're taking lots of medication. We're healthy because we have an innate way of fighting infections. Because right now there's billions and billions of bacteria and viruses floating around among us, but we're not sick. Why? Because our body naturally has the capability to fight the infections. But again, if your immune system is depressed and it's not working properly, then your ability to fight these infections goes down drastically, and then you will get sick. So things like cold bacteria or cold virus does not give you a cold. It's only the person who's susceptible that will get the cold. A bacteria infection, you cut your skin and you get bacteria. You may get an infection, but you can fight it very well. But the person who doesn't have a strong immune system may get a severe infection and could go to their blood and may actually even kill them. What's the difference? The strength of the immune system. So this is the key. If we can keep our immune system strong, we can withstand anything. If it's weak, we will not be able to withstand anything. All right? So the health always starts from inside out. So one of the latest, in the last 10, 20 years, what they're finding is that the people who are the most sick tends to be the people who are chronically inflamed. Because when you are inflamed in your organ systems and your joints, your body just cannot work properly. And a lot of foods that we eat are very inflammatory. Things like gluten, things like dairy tends to inflame our system, and so then everything gets sluggish. And so one of the key properties of HemoHIM is a continual anti-inflammatory, natural anti-inflammatory property. And one of the reasons that I use this regularly is because I tend to get inflamed when I ride my horses for a long period of time. It's just a natural part of using my body. And the next day sometimes I can hardly move. I'm sore and stiff. But when I take HemoHIM consistently, that never happens the next day. It's incredible. I used to suffer at least a couple of days after I ride for a long period of time. Sometimes I'm riding for 4 hours, can go 30 kilometers in that period. But for the last 10 years, I've been taking HemoHIM. I don't have any of the stiffness or soreness that I used to have. And this is why a lot of my patients with arthritis, which is inflammation of the joints, within weeks, within days, 3-4 days, they notice a difference in their ability to walk properly or their ability to use their hands because the swelling has come down naturally. So fighting inflammation is key to staying healthy. Also in our digestive system, in our gut. Some people have a very large midsection. A lot of that is actually inflamed tissues. And when you start reducing the inflammation, you'll be shocked that you can actually reduce your hip or girth by 5 or 6 inches sometimes. Now, one of the things with anemia, this is a problem that a lot of people have, but they're not usually diagnosed. They just feel tired, they're draggy, etc. And they may go to their doctors and say, yeah, you may have anemia, you may not. They could be on the low end of iron, it could be, but they're still tired all the time. HemoHIM tends to correct anemia very, very quickly because nutritionally there's huge amount of bioavailable iron. Without proper bioavailable iron, then no matter how much rest you get, etc., you will always be tired because you don't have enough hemoglobin, which transports oxygen to all your cells in the body. And without proper iron in your bloodstream, you cannot make hemoglobin. So as I said before, I've had people with anemia who used to need iron infusions directly into their bloodstream. Within 6 weeks of taking HemoHIM, have absolutely no more anemia and did not need any more iron infusions, and they made a full recovery. Recovery from any kind of injury is also very, very quick, and because of the red blood cells. If you have proper amount of red blood cells, your ability to heal is drastically increased. Actually, it's the optimum amount, but most people don't have enough, and so it takes a long time for their injuries to heal because you're not getting enough of the nutrients on a consistent basis. And that's what the red blood cells do. They're the trucks or the railroads taking stuff to the cells and taking garbage out of the cells. So 2 things has to happen for our bodies to stay healthy. And just as a side note, HemoHIM is incredible for your pets, dogs, cats, horses. I'm just going to show you a couple of things here. This is the leg of one of my friend's horse where there was a cyst, bone cyst, which blew out, and the vet said that it would take 3 months to heal with surgery for this to heal properly. This is a $50,000 horse, a very expensive show horse, and my friend who was taking HemoHIM herself asked me whether she could give it to her horse. I said, of course, it's a natural food, non-toxic. So she gave her horse 2 HemoHIMs a day. Even though horse is much bigger, animals need much less. It's more the energy of the substance. And this is the wound. In 19 days, no surgery. The vet was just floored, could not believe how fast this resolved. And I've actually done this with my horses as well. Several of my horses, if they're injured, they get HemoHIM and they recover so much quicker. This is my friend's dog. You see this? This is behind. She's a Cocker Spaniel, and she had severe allergies. Buster, actually, he had severe allergies to the point where it scratched all of this so that Buster was totally hairless. And food allergies. So my friend had to spend hours every week trying to make proper food for this dog because he could not hardly eat anything. And she started giving him HemoHIM, and within 3 weeks, he stopped scratching, and all his hair grew back. You see right here where it still didn't grow back, that's actually the tail, but this was totally bald. And Buster now can eat actually 5 or 6 different foods, which he could not before. So allergies are actually a problem with the immune system where the immune system goes crazy. It works too hard. And what HemoHIM does, the M in the letter HIM stands for modulation, meaning it regulates the immune system, it regulates the hormone system. Too high or too low of anything is not good, and especially in the immune system. When it's too low, that means you don't have enough to fight infections. You're sick all the time. But if your immune system is working too much, it's just as bad, because an overactive immune system are people who have autoimmune diseases or people who have allergies. It means they're reacting too much to something that they shouldn't be reacting to, and eventually those immune cells get confused and they start attacking the person's own body. So somebody who has rheumatoid arthritis is an immune type of arthritis where the immune cells attacks the person's own joints. And so that is why HemoHIM is so effective for autoimmune diseases, because it actually helps to dampen the reaction to the optimum. It never overshoots because it's a natural substance compared to a lot of the medications. Medications that are like people who have autoimmune diseases, they take immune suppressants. But what does that mean? It suppresses the immune system, but it doesn't know when to stop. And then that person is more prone to get all kinds of infections because now it's dampened it too much. There should be an optimum amount of immune response, not too high, not too low. And that's the beauty of HemoHIM, because it will only bring it down to where it should be and not go beyond. And same thing with stimulating the immune system if it's sluggish.